3,283 pieces, 1 month later, a lot of hurt fingers, a lot of pissed off moments where pieces didn't fit where I thought they did, and here we are, fam. We've got the Tesla Cybertruck from Mattel Creations. And I want to talk about some of the good, the bad, and a little bit of the ugly about this vehicle and the build. So, as normal, you know what we got to do. Hey, come on. No, seriously, we got to get to work, man. We got to pay those bills.
Sinister Productions. Sinister Productions.
All right, so good. Bills paid. Now we can talk about the Tesla Cybertruck from Mattel Creations. Again, like I said, it's been about a month to do the build. You could theoretically do this entire build in probably, you could do it in a couple days. If you were really hardcore, you could probably do it in 1 day if you just put all that time into this and nothing else. But like I said in one of the previous videos, this was a long haul build, so I wouldn't worry about doing it overnight. I do want to go over this build and show you the final stages of the assembly. And I also want to talk about some of the good, bad, and ugly, because everything about this, in my opinion, now again, this is just my opinion, is not perfect. And you also have to have the mindset that this is not an RC, this is not a basher. This is simply a toy, not meant to be used or, for lack of a better term, played with all the time, because these are, again, for lack of a better word, Lego type blocks, and they will come away, especially in some key areas around the vehicle. So let's take a look at the last final phase of the build. Then we'll get into some of the good, bad, and ugly. Finish this out. Oh, and by the way, hey, stick around, fam. I got something to talk about at the end. I want to hip you to something that's coming up. So let's take a look at the final piece of this build. Let's go. Okay, so let's take a closer look at this Cybertruck from Mattel Creations. Again, like I said in the beginning, this is a really, I mean, it's an excellent build. I had fun doing it, very time consuming, but in the long run, it is very well worth it. The good things about it, the instruction manual is highly detailed, easy to follow. The only problem I have with the instruction manual is you have gray pieces and black pieces, and in the manual sometimes a gray looks like a black, or a black looks like it could be gray, and you're not really sure until you actually start putting it together. But you'll start to get the knack of it as you go through it, and you can figure those things out. Throughout this whole process, I was missing a total of maybe 3 to 5 pieces in various parts of the build. So from beginning to end, maybe 3 to 5 pieces. That's not bad. I was able to make do with other pieces of maybe a different color or a different number, so I could put together and make it work with the piece that I should have had. So I'm assuming that when they put these packages together, they fill the bags based off of a specific weight that the bag should be based off of the number of pieces, and sometimes 1 or 2 is missing. But in the long run, again, 3 to 5 pieces out of approximately 3,300 pieces, Can't beat it. Another thing, it's highly detailed. I've shown you pictures before on my Instagram of the inside as far as the interior and the seats. I'll roll some of those now so you can see it. So it's very well put together, highly detailed vehicle. It is, again, to say this is not what we're used to as far as your RCs and your bashers. This is not secured together with bolts and screws and nuts and things of that nature. This is put together by plastic pieces affixed with these little dimples here. So pieces are going to come off. So with that in mind, let's talk about some of the bad that I don't like about this vehicle. Number one, up front, you have pieces. I'm going to show you here. I'm going to go to a different camera so you can see that. But you'll see here, you'll have these corner pieces. And let me come in a little bit tighter so you can see exactly what I'm talking about right here. So we'll have these corner pieces right here. Let me come down a bit. Okay. So these corner pieces on the front bumper, this is a very delicate model. And these pieces will come off when you're using it. And I'm going to show you how easy it is just to pull it off. Just pops right off. There's hardly no force that you have to apply to remove it. And to put it back on, it should be just as simple. When you do that, sometimes you will end up knocking a piece off somewhere else. But I got it back on, no big deal. Again, this is very fragile.
Fragile. It must be Italian.
Well, I think that says fragile.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to be careful. And again, this isn't a toy to be played with all the time. Sure, you can. It is rollable. It has real wheels and tires, and it has real functioning suspension. And then let me just show you the wheel turning action here. So let me focus in on the suspension, and I'm going to have to do some maneuvering of the camera so you can see that. When you pick up the vehicle, I'm going to do that now, the suspension automatically kicks in. And you may or not be able to see that. So let me redo this whole process so you can see that suspension kick in. Then we'll go over the part that I don't really care too much about it. Okay, hold tight. Okay, I just wanted to change my angle up just a wee bit so you can see it. So the suspension is activated automatically whenever you lift the vehicle up. So if you just want to lift this vehicle to move it from spot to spot, you have to be sure that you grab the suspension under the vehicle so that it does not fall out. If you don't, and I'll just use the front for the first example, when you pick it up, you'll notice the difference in height between the wheel and the wheel well. So you pick it up, suspension kicks in. Now you see this difference in height right here where my thumb is? When I put it back down, that stays exactly the same. So you do have activated working suspension. In order to deactivate or drop the suspension back down to the standard height, and I'll show you that on camera, so I'm gonna get in close, you have to open the hood and you'll depress this red lever right here, and that allows you to put the suspension back down. The front is fine as long as you remember while you're moving the vehicle to grasp up under, and I'm going to show you that right here. Actually, I'm going to turn this over so you can see it better from a top-down view. You want to ensure that you put your hands, and I'm going to zoom in a tad bit. Here's the front. You want your hands to be covering this piece right here because this is your front and your rear suspensions. So when you pick it up, you want to make sure that your hands are covering this piece so the suspension doesn't activate. Let me deactivate. Well, I shouldn't say. Now you saw that? I just lost a piece right there on camera. And now it's broken apart on the floor, and I got to put it together again. No big deal, but it's things like that that will happen from how fragile this actually is. So I'm going to put these pieces to the side. I'm going to make sure everything's real on camera. And again, you can see already up front, I've lost both of the front left and right bumper and headlight assembly. They just came off just that simply, just moving the vehicle just a little bit. So again, that's some of the bad that I don't like about the vehicle. But the good part is this is not meant to be toyed with on a daily basis. You don't run this around in the backyard and this, that, and the other. It's for display and to take some photos, but you have to be careful with it as you use it. Now, for the suspension in the rear, same principle, but the biggest difference is for some reason the rear suspension does not activate and lock just like the front suspension does. So I'm going to open up the tonneau cover and drop the tailgate. You'll see a similar red lever right here. This should be in the up position when the suspension is fully lowered and down in the stock ride height. When you pick up the vehicle, you may have noticed this red lever right here, and I'll get a close in if you don't see it. It moves with the suspension. Now, when it is fully locked in and up, that should lock down in place, and the suspension should stay locked, but it does not do that. As you can see here, let me lift this up so you can actually see a little bit better. Let me put the suspension down. Okay, so here's the red lever, right here that is activated and locked in place with a rubber band. This should move freely up and down, but once it's in the up position, or the down position, and your suspension is fully lowered, and your vehicle is fully raised, this should lock into place, but it does not. I haven't figured out why that happens yet. I do notice in the build that this lever is only connected on one side of the vehicle, so it's only really locking down one side, whereas the other side is free. So that is a possibility, maybe a design flaw in the makeup of the vehicle. Is it a big deal? Yes and no. Now, if you want to really, if you're buying this for your children and you want them to be able to play with it, they're going to tear it apart in a second. But if you're using this just for display purposes, for a few photos, this, that, and the other, it's going to last a while. But again, when you move this vehicle, you have to be careful. Okay, and another point I want to bring up are the tolerances of this vehicle. As you look around the vehicle, you'll see gaps all over the place. Well, again, this is not a deal breaker. This is not meant to be a super precise vehicle because it's held in place by small plastic pieces. The tolerances won't be that tight. But the cool factor alone of some of the items of this vehicle, in particular, you have a functioning tailgate and working tonneau cover. So I'm going to show you that now. Tailgate flips down. Boom. It has an extra extension piece so that if you want to simulate that you're bringing ATV or something in the back or some bikes, you can. And the tonneau cover actually rolls, and you'll see here to show the full bed. And you have access to the full bed plus a little storage area here, which has what I'm assuming is a sledgehammer, and I don't know what that is, but it's, it's part of the vehicle. It's another piece of the cool factor. So close it up, close your tonneau cover, shut your tailgate, everything locks up. Again, not super tight because the tolerances on this vehicle are not meant to be within micromillimeters, but it's a cool vehicle nonetheless. You have functioning working doors, you got a full interior, and as I showed before, you actually have a Tesla modeled coffee mug on the inside. I mean, in the long run, this is a very cool vehicle, but let me go ahead and give you a bit of warning now. And this is something that should be said up front about this type of modeling. It's 3,300 small pieces. You will have plenty of extras left over. With that being said, if you don't have 1 ounce, let me just back that up. If you don't have a 1/4 ounce of patience, this is not the type of build that you want to be involved in. Because it's going to piss you off at plenty of moments, and it really made me mad throughout the build because things just weren't going right. And if you do miss a step or misplace a piece or put a piece in place of another one, it may fit now, but later on in the build, you'll find out why something just didn't look right, but fit right. I had to do that about 2 or 3 times in the build. Luckily, I wasn't so far along that I couldn't pull up a few pieces and make the correction without having to tear the whole thing down. But what is my ending verdict on this video, on this actual Mattel Creations Tesla Cybertruck? Let's take it back over to the bench in the studio, close it out, talk about what my final prediction is, and then talk about a surprise that I have for you, which some of you may already know. So come on, let's go. Oh, remember, grab that suspension underneath. Let's run. So fam, here's my overall final impression of the Mattel Creations Tesla Cybertruck. Is it cool? A definite 10 out of 10 on the cool factor. Working hood, you got an actual functioning hood, working doors, functioning 4 doors with simulated glass, and don't forget the simulated shadow window on the side when they tried to prove that this actual vehicle's windows were shadow proof. You have a fully functioning working tonneau cover and liftgate. Definitely coolness with the seats and the Tesla coffee mug. Is it for everyone out there? Not at all. This is not for any individual who doesn't have any patience or the will to work with a bunch of small pieces, specifically the sheer number, 3,300 approximately small pieces, to get this put together. Is it for someone who is looking to use this as a toy or maybe build it for a small child? Yes and no. If you're going to highly regulate the use of this for a small child, sure, why not? But if you're not, this will be broken apart quick, fast, and in a hurry. As you've seen in some of the overlays that I've put, this is a very fragile vehicle in certain areas. Now, I can eliminate that fragility, if that's really a word, by using some super glue in pieces like up front, which I may, to ensure that these don't pop off from just minor handling of the vehicle. Would I buy this again? Part of me wants to say, no, it's not going to happen again because it's just way too time consuming. But the other part of me says, without a doubt, because I enjoy putting things together like this. So if you do enjoy working with small pieces, assembling something of this magnitude over a course of time that's not going to be a day or two, then yes, this is for you. If you want to put something together quick, fast, in a hurry, nah, stay away from this at all costs. But if you're kind of nuts like I am and you look forward to doing things like this, by all means, go ahead and spend the money if you can find it, because as of right now, I believe they're still out of stock. Not sure if and when they'll come back in stock. But this is a very nice vehicle. I enjoyed the build outside of some of the weak parts. And let me just bring up one other weak point. The door hinge mechanisms where the doors fit to the hinge, that is a very weak portion. These little seals that connect the window shield or the glass to the door, those are weak. Those will pop off easy. So there's a lot of places you'll find throughout the build. And I'd recommend, if you're going to do what I'm talking about next, using some super glue or some sort of adhesive to make sure they're more permanent. You wait until the very end before you do that. So some of these seals, I may put a little super glue on. Most definitely these front corner bumpers, I'll put some super glue on, and some of the other places to keep it all intact. That way everything stays together. But I do wish that Mattel Creations would have done a better job, and maybe it's just me, on the rear suspension as far as the ability for it to lock into place. Somewhere it's off and loose and it just does not lock into place like the front suspension does. I would have liked to have seen that a little better. But overall, fam, all in all, I'm not going to knock this Tesla Cybertruck. I do like it. I enjoyed the build, and I'd do it again on a different type of vehicle, no doubt. So with all that in mind, let's talk about the surprise that I have in store for all of the subs to J Sinister Productions. Hey, let me tell you something. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, I started this channel, and I never thought that I would have come as far as I have in this amount of time. We're approaching 2,000 subscribers, fam. Because of you all, we're approaching 2,000 subs. I never would have fathomed I could have got this number. And again, I'm still a small channel. I'm not any of the big dogs out there. So I haven't reached that 10,000 plus status. Maybe one day I will, maybe I won't. No real big deal to me. I like what I'm doing so far. So as a thank you to each and every one of you, this is what we're going to do at J Sinister Productions. Once we cross that 2,000 subscriber threshold, we're going to do a 2K giveaway, giving back to all of you. And it's going to be multiple items. I've been purchasing a few items here and there, stocking up on them. So when I do the giveaway, I have a nice lot of items to give away so that more people have a chance to win. And I have more chances to say thank you to each and every one of you for subscribing, following, and rocking with J Sinister Productions, because quite frankly, a lot of channels may not say this, a lot of channels may not be sincere in this matter, but without you as a subscriber, I could not do what I've done this far, and I cannot continue to do what I have planned in the future without you. So to say thank you, 2,000 subscribers, we're doing a giveaway. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, ensure that you subscribe now. It's worth it. Pop on that notification bell, because I've had a few winners in the past who won, made the announcement, they didn't have the notification bell on, or they did not check. I had to pass over them for someone else. So 1, subscribe. 2, hit that notification bell. 3, comment where necessary. And hey, stick around, because once we hit that 2,000, we're at about 1910, 1950 now. So we have about another 90 or so subscribers to go before we cross it. You can be part of another giveaway. And if you don't believe me, check out my pedigree. Check out my past videos. I'll leave a link up top now so you can see some of the past giveaways we've done and get in on it. So fam, without any further ado, I want to thank you for sticking around. Thank you for hanging out throughout the duration of this build. I know it hasn't been the most exciting of builds, and there's no such thing as a run video with this, so I can't test it. Not that I would, but thank you very much. Maybe there'll be more in store of things like this. If you like this type of build, let me know in the comments below. I'll do more. No big deal. Fam, thank you again. Appreciate each and every one of you. As always, do you, be you, and above all, fam, stay true. I am Jay of Jay Sinister Productions, and you know where I leave. I'm going to my left. It's going to show up as your right. Icons RC already called me out multiple times on it. You know how it is. But I'm exiting stage left.
Jay Sinister Productions. Jay Sinister Productions.